Boney was walking back from the Jiffy Mart when he found the monkey's head. There it was, under the small palm tree in the front yard, just staring up at him like an old friend who couldn't remember his name. It freaked him out bad. The dude had to check around to make sure nobody had seen him jump back and almost drop his beer in the dirt. It was still lunchtime and cars were parked up and down the street. For a second, it looked like the head might be growing out of the ground. Maybe somebody had buried the monkey up to its neck the way people did to other people at the beach when they ran out of things to do. Maybe it was still alive. Boney grabbed a broom off the porch and swung hard. He stopped an inch away from the monkey's little black eyes, and it didn't blink. He poked the head with the straw end of the broom, and it tipped back and forth. The short black hairs on its head were pointed straight up at the cloudy sky. The nose was flat and wrinkled around the edges, like it had been a normal nose, and then God decided to push it in with his big thumb. The ears were old man ears with whiskers growing on them and in them, and it kept smiling. It smiled from one monkey ear to the other. Boney's mother said it was the ugliest thing she had ever seen.
Get fail.
She wanted it out of her yard. What were the neighbors going to think? What were her customers going to say? Who would want to buy perfume from a woman who lived with such an ugly thing in her front yard? She wouldn't. His father said it was a dead Chango. He didn't care how it died or where it came from. All he knew was that Boney needed to stop lying around in his socks every morning and go out and find a job, earn some money. He was tired of coming home for lunch and seeing him sleeping on the sofa. He didn't know how a police sergeant's son could be so dang lazy. Brownsville wasn't that big a town. People talked. Boney was 31 years old. Yeah, it was time for him to go do something with his life. His older brothers had good jobs. What was wrong with him? That Chango wasn't going to get him anywhere. It was dead.
I want to keep him.
Keep him? Estás loco? Okay. You want to live with monkeys? I'll drive you to the zoo. Come on, get in the car. I'll take you right now. Martha, por favor, help your son put some clothes in a bag. He wants to live at the zoo.
You're making your father mad, Boney. I didn't do anything.
No, all you want to do is drink beer with your new best friend, your compadre, instead of going out to make a living. Boney should have known his parents would say something like that. So what if he didn't have a job? Everybody had his own life. I just lost my best friend, Mondo. I'm not ready to move on. I'm not ready to get a job. Why can't my parents just understand that? Right when I finally find someone that makes me happy, they try to take it away from me. What am I supposed to do? In a lot of ways, he was lucky that he'd found Chango. How many guys could say they'd found a monkey's head in their front yard? He'd probably never find anything like this again. He was sure that if Chango were a guy, they'd be friends. Same thing would go if Boney were a monkey. They'd be hanging out in the jungle, swinging from trees, eating bananas. They'd be putting the moves on all the changuitas, doing it monkey style. He would miss his truck, but then what would he need it for in the jungle? It's not like there was anywhere to go cruising. And if he were a monkey, nobody would be hassling him to do something else. He'd be a monkey. He wouldn't have to go to school, or work, or file for unemployment. And something else, monkeys were always together. The water was browner and greener than he remembered it. A tire had washed up on the other side of the canal. An army boot floated and got stuck on some lily pads. He broke a dead branch into 4 pieces and pitched them into the water one at a time. When he ran out of branches and twigs, he threw pebbles. Time was passing slowly, and he was avoiding doing what he had to do. Boney skipped a few more rocks across the water. He wished people would leave him alone, let him live his own life. If he drank, it was because he wanted to drink. If he stayed at home without a real job, it was because he wasn't ready for that yet. There wasn't anybody who understood him. He and Chango were hanging out. His mother and father didn't know what they were saying. His mother let herself be talked into crazy ideas by Mrs. Rivas. People were always talking at him and telling him how he should live. Sometimes he listened, but most times he didn't. He was just living. That's the best explanation he could give. Living. Boney leaned over and held Chango a couple inches above the water. It was the last thing in the world that he wanted to do, but he let go.